Bonjour à toutes et à tous, bienvenue pour cette nouvelle conference call de la TNA, le rendez-vous à peu près mensuel que nous avons en exclusivité française avec les superstars de la TNA. Cette fois-ci, c'est un duo, Gunner et Samuel Shaw qui étaient présents et c'est Showtime qui pose les questions. Il y en a notamment au début, donc vous pourrez entendre tout ça et normalement une retranscription aussi sera là, donc pour vous guider. Bonne écoute, n'hésitez pas à réagir et à liker sur Facebook et Twitter.
Hello and welcome to the TNA One Night Only World Cup 2014 pay-per-view conference call. I will begin with a brief overview of the pay-per-view, and then we will open the lines up for questions for our special guest Gunner and the creepy bastard himself, Samuel Shaw. For one incredible night only, 4 world-class athletes will captain teams. Kurt Angle, Bobby Roode, Eric Young, and EC3 will lead their teams to the coveted World Cup of Wrestling. It's a cutthroat fight for survival where the strongest advance and victory awaits the bold. TNA Wrestling presents One Night Only World Cup 2014, premiering this Friday, September 5th at 8/7 Central on pay-per-view. I will now open the lines up for questions.
Your first question comes from the line of Mike Johnson.
Gentlemen, how are you today?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing good. Obviously, with a pay-per-view like this, it's a very unique event because it's not part of the regular TNA storylines. It's sort of contained within its own bubble. So when you guys go into that, knowing that at the beginning, at the end of the show, you guys have an entire story that the roster is going to put together for the viewers, how does that change how you guys approach the matches versus if you were doing the weekly storylines on Impact Wrestling?
Gunner, you want to take the reins on that one?
I'm waiting. Yeah. Okay. Cool. No, I think it's just a matter of we know we have to deliver a product to the UK fans, and it is a bit tricky at times because you don't, at times you may be teaming if there's a tag team thing going on where you're teaming with somebody that you're feuding with, or have been feuding with. So I think you just kind of keep the same. You keep some of the same storyline as you would as if it was our weekly TV show on Spike. I always go in there and do the same thing I do as far as, being a baby face and just wrestling how I wrestle, because that's what, it's not like it's airing. It's really hard when it airs, a couple months in advance or something like that. And it's kind of tricky. But a lot of the times they let us know what's going on, and we just kind of keep the same storyline based off of, what's going on TV, because really that's what, the UK fans are caught up on all the storylines as well. And the writers are going to pretty much try and keep that the same as much as possible with all this World Cup stuff going on.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
I do apologize. We do have a pop-in question from the line of Oliver Boudreaux.
Okay. Hi, guys.
Hey.
Hello.
So my question is, a few weeks ago, TNA changed back to the six-sided ring, and there have been huge debates between wrestlers on Twitter about how good it is or how bad it is, and I wanted to know your guys' opinion about the change.
Where, Sam?
Well, actually, Gunner and I, we have been discussing this quite a bit, actually. It was brought to our knowledge that, some of the wrestlers were a bit scared to go back to the six-sided ring. I shouldn't say scared. I would just say, it's our bodies on the line, and we didn't really have a say in, us going back to the six-sided ring. But I will say, being in the six-sided ring recently, we have way more room to wrestle in, and it's actually a very comfortable environment to work in. So I'm very pleased with it. And it gives us a lot of creative ideas to further, our game. I actually really like the six-sided ring, and I think Gunner would agree with me on that.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Sam. There for a while, like when I first started with TNA in 2009, doing a security spot, I really didn't get a chance to work in it. I was, in it, taking part in some storylines, but it is a lot harder than the four-sided ring, just the way it's built. But there is a lot more working space, and in reality, we're being taken care of as well. But you got to think about what the fans want. Obviously, they voted for that. It was something that when TNA decided to do a six-sided ring, that it was, very popular and it was, very different. So the fans really kind of adapted to that, kind of like our X Division stuff. So, so I think the guys are used to it now. The fans got what they wanted back, and, hey, the show must go on. But, hey, I really I enjoy it. I didn't think I was going to, but once, like Sam said, once we got in there and started moving around in it, we do have a lot more room, and it's very different. So with that being said, I'm happy with it.
To add to that, I think it definitely, we've heard people say it separates us from the competition as far as presentation is concerned. I definitely tend to agree with that. I think when people are flipping through the channels and they come across, our six-sided ring, I think that they're going to stop and say, whoa, that looks a little different, and it might keep them watching the product. So I'm all for it.
Your next question comes from the line of George Rebello.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, fine. Thank you. My first question is for Samuel Shaw, and this is not about wrestling. I've seen Shaw drawing through Twitter, and I think you have quite a talent. How much dedicated are you to drawing and to art? And will you bring it to wrestling like Jeff Hardy does?
I appreciate the question. I've been drawing ever since I was 2 years old, according to my mother. I was watching wrestling at 2 years old, and when the show was over and when Superman and Batman was over, I wanted more. So my mom handed me a piece of paper and some crayons, and she tells me she was amazed by what she saw, what I could translate on paper with some crayons. And that just escalated as the years went on, and it was always something that I gravitated towards, and it's almost like it's a good stress reliever for me. I love to show my artwork off to the fans, and I think it's something very unique to my character. And as far as presenting it the way Jeff Hardy does, hell, I want to sell my artwork. I want my artwork to be famous like Jeff Hardy's artwork. I want my artwork on T-shirts. I want to sell prints. I want to sell all kinds of merchandise with my artwork on it. That is the ultimate goal. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you. And just to Gunnar, I love the name Modern Day Viking, and I think it can be a really good gimmick. But as a fan, I don't think that you and TNA have really pushed this name, and I wonder if we will see Modern Day Viking gimmick to be more developed in the future.
Yeah, man, thanks for the question, well, and that's something that creative team came to me about as far as the Modern Day Viking name and the path and the direction they had me going, and working the military and being in the Marine Corps. They just didn't kind of see that it fit well, and I, respectfully disagree. To me, a Viking is a warrior and someone who, you study about them. These guys were always in battle, always fought for what they wanted or what they needed. They just took everything, really. And in my case, being in the Marine Corps, we are the United States, we're the warriors for the United States. We're always the first one in and the last one out when it comes to war. It's something I'm definitely got on the back burner. I still have the name, and I'm still trying to push to use it on TV because, it was really, really getting over. The fans in the UK especially love the name. So, but I do appreciate that question. It's a name that I have on one of my ring jackets, and I kind of just, Kerry Von Erich was the modern day, warrior. So I'm looking at trying to be the modern day Viking and do something different with myself. But yes, definitely in on the back burner, and hopefully we get to see some T-shirts being made one day.
Your next question comes from the line of Oliver Boudreau.
Yes, it's me again. So you guys have been teaming up quite a lot recently. Do you think you are going to go after the Wolves title in the coming months? And if so, do you think you guys could get a really cool tag team name, or do you have any ideas for a cool tag team name?
I think, I honestly, I've helped Sam along the way, and he's taught me a couple of things as well, man. And he's been a good partner so far. I don't, when you join, with a team or whatever, I think your ultimate goal obviously is to succeed. When I was teaming with James Storm, that was my ultimate goal, was to be tag team champions with him. So I think Sam would agree when it comes to that, getting a chance to wrestle for the tag titles. Tonight on Impact, we're wrestling Bram and Magnus, and that's, they're a tough team, but I think it's a good starting point for us as far as showing what we can do as a tag team. As far as names, we haven't really thrown anything out yet. Sam's got an awesome mustache, and I'm working on growing my beard back, so maybe we can kind of incorporate those two together. But
yes, I finally went through puberty and was able to grow a mustache, and working on the goatee as well, just so I can sort of, look cool like Gunner. I'll never look like a modern-day Viking, but I sure as hell am going to try. So
yeah, definitely. But no, I mean, for sure. Our in the future, our goal, if all goes well, is to capture the tag titles and be the best tag team in TNA. They give us that opportunity.
Absolutely, agreed.
We have another question from the line of George Rebello from Wrestling Slam.
Hi guys, again. I'm going to ask you another question since it seems we are very low on participants. I would like to know just you guys. I think you guys are the underdogs. You started very discreetly in TNA, and now you are gaining very important highlights on Impact. And I was wondering, what do you think of your careers from the start to now in TNA?
Well, it's actually pretty interesting as far as Gunner and myself are concerned. I'd been doing tryouts with TNA since late 2008, and I'd seen Gunner up there. He was doing a security role with another guy for Jeff Jarrett. And then when Jeff Jarrett did his MMA Team Jarrett gimmick, I was actually put into that role as one of the guys that, it was sort of like an MMA crew. I walked down to the ring with Jeff Jarrett. I was kind of his towel boy, and, Gunner was back there as well as security. And, fast forward years later, here we are. Me and Gunner, we're here. We're some of the guys that are getting pushed now. And it just goes to show that hard work pays off, and they obviously have seen something special in both of us, and to be in the roles that we're in now, it's a true blessing. And we've busted our asses, and I think we deserve to be here. And we're not going to disappoint. We're not going to fail.
And I agree with what Sam says. We both really, I think, paid our dues and showed that we wanted to be there. And from day one, Sam did the same thing, but me driving from North Carolina to taping just to work a security spot, really probably spending out more money than I was making, but it was an opportunity that Terry Taylor got my foot in the door. I'm extremely happy with my career, and I assume, I know that obviously TNA and the writers and everybody else are happy with what we're doing, or they wouldn't have, we both just re-signed recently. So with that being said, they obviously they have faith in our, what we can do. I've been given many opportunities as far as being there with Hulk Hogan and those guys, getting a chance to work with AJ Styles and Sting and Kurt Angle, and these guys trusting me to do so. I've been given many opportunities, a chance to wrestle for the world title at in Manchester, England last year. I mean, for the main event, it's my first big main event, and I felt that I delivered and was told that I delivered, and me and Magnus delivered, I should say. But with that being said, I'm really looking forward to the future. I think the company is really starting to give the young talent like me, Sam, EC3 is really stepping up his game a lot. I can sit here and name all the guys, Bram, Magnus, the younger guys who are going to take over, when the veterans are kind of gone. We're going to be the ones that's got to step up and carry the show on. So I really think that Impact is giving us all a really good shot and putting a lot of faith into us, and I think everybody's delivered.
And let me just ask you a quick follow-up. since you are talking about the future, and there have been a lot of news about the negotiations between Spike TV and TNA, and I was wondering your guys' thoughts about this.
You want to answer Sam first? You want me to?
Yeah. You know, as far as the Spike TV deal is, as it pertains to us, you know, Gunnar and I, we're going to continue to bust our ass and do what we have to do to deliver a solid product. And with Spike TV, as far as we know, you know, we have a TV deal through the end of this year. And as, you know, beyond that, we don't know. I expect to stay on Spike. I think that, you know, Spike sees the direction that TNA is headed. I think they like what they see. But as far as me and Gunnar knowing whether, you know, we're going to be with Spike into 2015, we don't know that. We're not told that. We're just going to go out there and bust our asses and deliver. So, Gunnar, you want to add to that?
Yeah, no, you touched on it pretty well. You know, Spike's been really good to us since I've been here since 2010. The negotiations obviously are going on, and we are with them to the end of the year. They moved us to Wednesday nights midweek, and it seems like it hasn't hurt the ratings or anything like that. I mean, the fans caught on and know when we're on and stuff. And, you know, I think that come New Year, we'll either renegotiate with Spike or, you know, something different happen. I don't think the company has to worry about anything. It seems like things always fix themselves. I have faith in that. I have faith in our product, and, you know, our owner, Dixie Carter, I have faith in her as well. You know, if I didn't, I wouldn't want to be working for the company, but I'm very happy with the opportunity she's given us, and she loves, you know, this company and this business, and I think she's going to really, really push hard to just take care of not only us, but, you know, her company.
Yeah. We're
going to be on a network where, you know, where we feel that we're going to be used the way we should be, and we have just so many talented people on this roster, and Dixie Carter is going to make sure that we're placed in the right position on TV. And whatever that may be in 2015, you know, I'm anxious to see. But nothing's going to change as far as the work ethic of Samuel and Gunnar. So,
not at all.
Yeah, because from the fan point of view, I think there's a little bit of, we are a bit afraid of what might happen in 2015, since Bound for Glory is just around the corner. Things are a bit not yet very, very defined until there, and it doesn't seem, I don't know what's going to happen next year, but it's good to hear from you.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
And thank you, guys.
Yes, sir.
Our next question comes from the line of Rory Bailey from Retro Magazine.
Hi, guys. It's Rory from Retro Cult and Team Venom Wrestling Podcast. The question is, you're both currently teaming with each other on Impact, but on this Friday's World Cup of Wrestling special, you'll be on opposing teams as part of Team Rude and Team Young. Which do you prefer, working with each other or against each other, and what can we expect to see between you guys this Friday?
I think that when it comes to something like, you know, the World Cup pay-per-view, unfortunately, you know, Sam and I are buddies, and you know, I think that when it comes to things like that, when it comes to either winning a world title shot or money or, you know, whatever it is, you've got to you'll set your friendship aside sometime to do battle, and you've seen it. I've seen it plenty of times throughout my, you know, 32 years of watching wrestling, and I think Sam will feel the same way when it comes to something that you can either step your game up, get an opportunity to rise and shine, or grab that ball and run, and he's going to do the same thing I'm going to do. I'm going to be professional. I'm not going to come out there with a wrench or anything like Bram and try to kill somebody, but I think Sam knows that, you know, if we're, as a team, you can trust me, and if we're on opposing teams like we are with, you know, Team Rude and Team EY, I believe you said, that, you know, we are going to just go out there and do our job and try and win for our team, because winning for your team is what you want to do. And at the end, I believe we'll both shake hands and say, hey, sorry about that, you know, left hook.
Agreed.
Okay. Last year's World Cup One Night Only special saw a Team USA, a Team UK, a Team International, and a Team Aces and Eights.
Yes.
is there any reason why TNA's done away with the world variety aspect of the Cup? And obviously, you've got Team Rude, Team Young, Team Angle, and a fairly strong, much stronger teams, in my opinion, than last year's. But do you think this event will be as strong as last year's one?
Yeah, I think it will be just because of the, like you just said, the teams this year seem a lot stronger than last year's. I'm not sure why they did away with some of the stipulations and whatnot. I really don't. I can't dive deep into that, but I do think that regardless, like with Angle and guys like Bobby Roode and, myself and Sam and the talent that they have going on now and that they're using now, I believe to me, I feel like it's a lot stronger than last year's. Like you said already, I think we all will go out there and deliver. The UK fans will be just as happy, with whatever's on the line.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Your next question comes from the line of Lee Mee of Alive Radio.
Hi guys, how are you? It's just gone 8:30 over here in the UK, and I'm looking back at some of your careers that we've had to date. Gunnar, you mentioned earlier, going back to the days when you were a red shirt security guard. Samuel Shaw, obviously you are one creepy bastard since you've arrived in Impact Wrestling. I think there's no other way to put it. We've seen a lot of the older, more established stars disappear from Impact this year, and that's really given a lot more of TV time, a lot more exposure to you guys to develop and flesh out your characters. Gunnar, just how do you think your character has developed from that original red shirt days when you were Gunnar and Murphy to where you are now, where you're a fan favourite? You've had an amazing run as a single athlete. Of course, look at that great match you had back here in the UK earlier this year for that world title match. How do you feel your character has developed now that you've got more TV time with the disappearance of some of those big name stars?
Yeah, I appreciate the comments as well. I think, like you said, it really, when you're, playing a security role, they'll give you I had a small character, and people knew that Gunnar was, part of the roster, but it really took them giving me that opportunity to kind of step out on my own. And I think once I got with Immortal and got the chance to really work singles, and then I worked tags with Murphy and Kid Cash, and then once I think really what helped out is there's a time time period where I was off for about 8 months where they let me rebirth myself, and I come back being James Storm's partner, and then from there I think that people saw that I didn't sit at home and become a grumpy young man and a bitter man about the wrestling business, and I just took it and I bettered my body, I bettered my in-ring work, I feel like I did. And when I came back with Storm and we started our run or a feud, they give me that opportunity to let me have mic time, and they really let me just kind of be who I am. Like, my character on TV is really just me amplified a little bit. I don't go around beating my head on turnbuckles or anything throughout the day, but, they let
sure
me
about that?
Occasionally I do, yeah. But they let me take my military background, my pride for the United States, my pride for Marine Corps and our troops and everything, and just kind of, run with that, man. And the fans in the UK when we were in Manchester, London, all those areas were just, I went back over there in May to do some media at Wembley, and they're just so welcoming. And it's amazing how they really kind of latched on to me. And that goes to show that I deliver for them, and that TNA believes in me and give me the opportunity and the platform to deliver.
I think that's one thing that as fans we've definitely seen, that belief in yourself since you came back and you established yourself with James Storm. Also, you've got a history of tag wrestling. You've had a great run as a singles athlete. You're going back into tag wrestling also during the World Cup. What do you feel more comfortable in? Obviously, there's a great wrestling, a great tag team lineage. I've often said on many of these conference calls that tag team wrestling is a lost art. TNA Impact Wrestling the past few years have tried to bring it back. How do you feel the tag wrestling scene is at the moment?
I think that TNA really, going from James Storm, who teamed with Bobby Roode, and he was America's Most Wanted. James is an awesome tag team wrestler. I think with I see differently from our company. You talk about tag team wrestling in certain aspects is kind of dying, unfortunately. Like, when I was a kid growing up in the 80s and 90s, you had the Rockers, you had the Midnight Express and the Brainbusters and all these teams they worked as a tag team. It wasn't two single guys working; it was two guys working together as a team. And I think that TNA really lets guys like James and I, the Wolves, Bram and Magnus, they work as a tag team. You can see that they go in there and do things together via tag team moves. They're tagging in and out. They're using the ring the way a heel should or the way the babyface should. And I think that with that being said, like our company, Impact, really is working on trying to keep tag team wrestling alive opposed to some of the other companies.
Mm-hmm. It's great. Thank you very much, Gunnar. Samuel, if I can come to you for a second. Obviously, you're still a relative newcomer to Impact Wrestling, but you landed and you made such an impact when you first came into Impact Wrestling, certainly on TV with those vignettes, with that stuff going on with Christy Hemme behind the scenes, and you really have been a character that the fans don't quite know how to take. I mean, we've said before, your nickname, a creepy bastard, you don't know how to take you. How do you feel your character has made a difference? Because it's brought something different that we haven't seen in the wrestling scene for quite some time. Certainly that I can think of, this stalkerish, psycho-esque character that you actually believe is, well, no offense here, mate, but a little bit of a Fruit Loop.
Thanks for the question. I think it's all about the presentation. As far as I'm concerned, when I did a couple appearances here and there after winning Gut Check, they brought me in a few times, and I grew up kind of surfing, skating, doing all kinds of normal things, and I just sort of didn't really have any character direction. I was just sort of being a little part of myself, and I was presenting that each time I came to the ring and performed, but there wasn't really much to Sam Shaw when he came down to the ring. There was nothing to really get behind. I think that I showed that I can go in the ring, and people maybe tend to forget that, but honestly, I could care less what people think. As far as now, okay, I'm the creepy bastard. At least it's got your attention.
It has that. How do you see that your role within Impact developing over the next 12 to 18 months? In an ideal world, where would you see yourself going?
I just want to keep pushing the limits. I want them to put me in situations that other people might not be comfortable with. I'm ready for anything. As long as people are going to be talking, as long as people are like, whoa, I want to see that creepy bastard, whatever. As long as people want to see Samuel Shaw do something outrageous to get some attention, I'm all for it. And whatever they have planned for me, bring it on. What do you think, Gunnar? I mean, the mustache is coming in. I'm looking pretty good.
No, I can speak, I'll speak for Sam, man. I've watched him. I think we've both watched each other grow as far as entertainers. And I travel with Sam. We room together. He sleeps in the bathtub. I sleep in the bed. But with that being said, he's got the drive. Like he really does, and you can tell in his work. And I think that, like he said, I'm the same way when it comes to, I want TNA to give me situations that I'm uncomfortable in. When I wrestled in Manchester, and I keep putting myself over about that, but when I wrestled in Manchester, I was scared to death, but it was a fear of wanting to go out there and show the company that I can be a main eventer. And I think that Sam's going to be given that opportunity before long, and he's going to capitalize. Like, I've seen him work in the ring. I've seen him really, study and being better, and that right there is, to me, a lost art. A lot of guys could care less, but when you got two young guys like us that want to be the future of the company or want to be world champions or whatever it is, that shows a lot.
You got two guys here, Gunnar and myself, who, I want to correct Gunnar what he said, just not even a minute ago, but him being scared in Manchester, I wouldn't say that he was scared. He knew that he could do it. It's just the butterflies in the stomach that we both get, that every performer that gives a damn about this business, we get that because we're so obsessed with being good and being, the best that this business has. And when we get put in positions like that, we're just concerned that, we want to go out there and perform the best we can. We know we can do it, and we've been given these roles, and we want to run with it.
that's true.
Guys, thank you very much. Some great answers. And again, all I would say as a wrestling fan, keep doing what you're doing, because as a viewer, as a wrestling fan, absolutely love, enjoy watching you guys in the ring. Cheers very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Cheers.
Your next question comes from James Marston of Across the Pond.
Hi guys, how's it going today?
Good. How are you? Good.
Good, thank you. My first question is to do with the move from the impact zone to the Manhattan Center. I was just wondering how you think that's affected the product, and have you noticed a change in the makeup of the crowd since moving to the Manhattan Center?
Yeah, I think that it's really improved the product a lot. As far we were in Orlando, I don't know how many years, but I know they were there since 2008 or 9.
2005, I think, right?
Yeah. So you got to think the crowd has seen everything down there. It's not taken away from the fans in the impact zone in Orlando, but they've seen everything. So it's really hard sometimes to do something different to where they were like, wow. When we took it to the Manhattan Center, you had these old ECW fans, and you had diehard TNA fans, so they were really itching to see it. So everything you did, they were a crowd that just reacted to everything. It made our job easier. We still worked just as hard. And, going back to, we're doing some shows in Bethlehem, PA as well, and it's the same there. It's just a different crowd, a new crowd, new faces. I think I look forward to really doing some more stuff at the Manhattan Center.
To add to that, I'd just like to say, Gunnar and I had been, working in the impact zone since, roughly late 2008, 2009, and like Gunnar said, they'd seen it all. And when you present a wrestling product, pretty much every week, I feel like the fans become accustomed to that, and they feel like, oh, well, so-and-so's not wrestling this week, so I don't need to go. So they'll just go the next week, and then it just becomes like a vicious cycle. And I think that when it's available every single week, it loses its value in a sense. So I think getting out of there and getting to a place like New York where the fans were just begging for that in that environment, and I think we delivered without a doubt up in New York.
Nice. My second question goes specifically to Gunnar. You recently, about 4 months ago, come off a lengthy feud with James Storm. Also before that, you'd been teaming with him, which was probably your most critically acclaimed bulk of work. I think it was what made a lot of people sit up and take notice of you and go, wait a second, this guy can actually wrestle. He's really good in the ring. I was wondering what you learned from working with James over that period of time.
Yeah, I think you're right. That was really the opportunity that, TNA gave me to step up, and we had a long five-month feud or something just insane. I mean, we did matches that people saw on TV. We were doing those on live events, so we were beating ourselves to death. The things I learned from James as far as being a tag team was he just knew what he was doing in the ring. He always knew where to be, what to do, how to win, really. I mean, you got to think how many times he's been world tag team champion, I believe 12 or 13. And that's something that I took, as we started wrestling singles. I knew who he was, I knew how he moved and how he worked, and I think we both knew each other better than we knew ourselves. But I definitely, I won't take anything away from James. He's tough. He is tough. He's a tough opponent. He's a good friend. He was a better enemy. But, he really taught me to fight and never give up. Our I Quit match was one of those, a bloodbath. And we really just, I think we kind of give each other our all. I got respect for him even after he bashes my dad with a beer bottle, and I'm pretty sure he's got respect for me. But he taught me a lot on the road. We traveled together when we were a tag team, had a lot of talks together, and, he really loves the business. And he taught me many things about being a tag team and being a singles wrestler, too.
It's certainly one of my highlights of TNA this year anyway, so thank you very much for that. And then another question over to Sam Shaw. I've seen a lot of your work on Twitter. You seem to take make a real focus of putting the character over on Twitter and social media in general. Is that an effort that you've gone to develop the character more? Do you think that more wrestlers should be doing that?
Good question. I just feel like with the advances in technology and with social media being such a huge part of our business now, it's almost, I like the idea that fans have access to us in a more personal way, but I also feel like, I don't feel like fans need to know every little last detail of my private life, and I really want to present who Samuel Shaw is the way TNA presents it, and I can add little things here and there to sort of give you more of what Samuel Shaw is all about. Does that answer your question, sort of?
Yeah, definitely. I think it gives a more well-rounded view of the character, and I think it enhances what you do on screen, in my opinion. So, yeah, that's fantastic. Thanks very much, guys. Cheers.
Cheers, man. Thank you.
Your next question comes from the line of Nathan Hunt from Telecore Wrestling.
Hi, my question is for Samuel Shaw. You've obviously done better than anyone else from the Gut Check series. Do you think that is something that should come back to TNA TV?
Good question. I think that the Gut Check concept, I mean, obviously for me, it was a true blessing because it gave me an outlet to sort of, go out there and be seen by millions of people and show what I could do, and in a more, I don't know the right word. It was a better presentation, and I think that the idea just needs to be tweaked a little bit, but I think that it could come back and they could do it again and do it right. I think it gave a lot of guys opportunities, a lot of guys that thought that they could probably be a pro wrestler, but obviously when they got under the bright, shiny lights and the cameras were rolling, you saw a lot of people fail. And this business isn't for everybody, and it's like when the cameras are turned on, the lights are on, the fans are going crazy, you better go out there and deliver just the way you think you do at wrestling school or on an independent show. And I think that for me, I was more than ready to show that I could be something more than just an independent wrestler. So I love the Gut Check concept. I think it should come back.
Also, to build on that and what you were saying about social media, do you think that shows like the British Boot Camp and WWE's version Tough Enough are good things to have in the business in the way that they show kind of the inner workings, things like the recruitment process?
Sure. I think the concepts really show, stuff like Tough Enough and British Boot Camp. You're going to see some of the trials and tribulations that a wrestler that's trying to make it has to go through. And I think, I'd seen people that are just sort of casual fans of wrestling, and people that maybe don't know much about wrestling. Once they see shows like that, they have a newfound respect for wrestling, and that might add, more fans watching each and every week because the concept is so unique. People get to see the ins and outs of the business and what it takes to get there. So yeah, I think that those are great concepts and great things that need to be highlighted in this business.
And your next question comes from the line of Oliver Boudreau of Wrestles Radio.
Yes, guys, it's me again. So TNA has made a lot of new signings and new additions to the roster in the last few months. And one of the most talked about in mainstream media addition to the roster is Chris Melendez, the War hero, who was added a few weeks ago and who started during the tapings in New York. I wanted to have your opinion on the guy and on what he will bring to the company.
Yeah, man, I'll touch on that. Being a veteran myself, giving a guy an opportunity like that, I think is awesome. First of all, he went to war. I mean, he gave his leg. He had to have his jaw reconstructed. He could have easily lost his life, but he didn't. He came home. He decided, a lot of working with the Wounded Warriors, I've learned a lot of people that come home from, a lot of soldiers that come home from overseas have post-traumatic stress disorder and really let it control their lives. I mean, as far as, unfortunately, suicide and all kinds of stuff. You know, Melendez is definitely obviously a role model because he came home, he lost his leg, he could have easily sat at home and just been depressed his whole life or more, but he took it, he decided to carry on, and he decided to, you know, achieve a dream that he wanted since he was a child, is to be a pro wrestler. And he didn't let one leg stop him. He didn't let, you know, his battle wounds stop him or any of that stuff. And now he's got a family, he's on TV, and I think, you know, he's a good role model that him coming to the company shows that no matter what you have in life, that you can do anything, and he set his mind to it. And I think he's going to be a really good ambassador as far as, you know, talking to the military or talking to people who really want to achieve dreams and children and stuff like that. I know it's a goal of mine is to use my, you know, my history and my past to really reach out and let people know that they can do anything they set their mind to. And that's really, I think, him coming to the company is you know, awesome. And they're giving a war hero an opportunity to be on national television, share his real life story. And that's really what wrestling's about now, I think, is not necessarily your larger than life characters or your cartoon characters as much as it is people wanting to get to know who Gunner is, who Sam Shaw is, what he does outside of wrestling, and, you know, Chris Melendez being what he's went through, war and all that stuff. People are really going to latch on to that.
Thanks. Looking forward to see him start in company.
Yes, he's got a good future ahead of him, man. He's got a big heart and obviously the will and the drive to succeed. I mean, look where he's come so far.
Let me add to that, because I went to Team 3D Academy, trained by Bully Ray and Devon, and so did Chris Melendez. And, you know, I was out of the academy by the time he came in, but I had heard, you know, about him, and I'd stop in every once in a while, and I'd see him training, and they did not take it easy on this guy. So he's really put some time in, and to add to that, Devon ran a charity show, a Hope for a Single Mom, a cancer awareness show, late last year, and in Melbourne, Florida, and Chris Melendez competed on the card. We had about 1,000 fans there, and I was so amazed at his performance and his ability to connect with the fans, and he really had those fans just going absolutely nuts, and it was really cool to see, and I just felt like eventually this guy was going to be something special, and I'm glad to see that he's on our roster now.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.